Hi everyone, and welcome to McNally Jackson Seaport. My name is Kate, and I'm the Director of Events here. We are beyond thrilled to be presenting the launch of Freak of Nature, the debut poetry chapbook by the generationally talented Rye Cook, with whom Swati and I have the pleasure of working at almost every night here at McNally. Rye curates our monthly small press poetry night and is one of our beloved event hosts. Usually they're the one doing this intro.
You're doing great.
Great.
Welcome everyone. My name is Swati and I'm the Assistant Director of Events here. I have the distinct pleasure of working with Rye almost every night, and I know them as a friend, a beloved community member, a reliable teammate, a cat parent, a fellow cat parent, and now I'm thrilled to witness them debut as the indelible artists that they are.
Before we get started, I have a few reminders for you all. First, we recommend following theater rules. This includes no recording and no flash photography. We have Yvonne tonight. Tonight's event will include time for an audience Q&A towards the end, so get your questions ready. We'll have a book signing downstairs following the event, and we also invite everyone to please join us for a drink downstairs at our bar. Now, without further ado, allow me to introduce Rye's publishers at Choo Press, Emily and Taylor. Thank you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. You all look so beautiful tonight. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Taylor, and I usually handle the editing. And this is...
Hi, I'm Emily. I'm the designer.
And we're just so lucky to be here. It's been a dream to do something at McNally. When we first started off, this was one of the top bookstores we wanted to do an event for, and it's really just so surreal to be here. And I just want to take a moment to say thank you so much for coming. For the past 5 years, we've been doing risograph zines and poetry chapbooks, and mostly centering around queer and women voices. So we're so happy to be here tonight with the luminous Rye.
We're really excited to debut this lovely poetry collection, and we're also really excited to hear from a great slate of other writers tonight. So first up, we're going to introduce Paolo Javier. Paolo recently is the author of Near Your Mirror, Home, Stay On, a volume of serial dream poetry and a chant published by Astoria's Poets of Queens, and a finalist for the 2024 Big Other Award for Poetry. Okay, let's give a welcome to Paolo.
Buhay Rai, can you hear me in the back? Yeah? If you can't, I have a teacher's voice, so I can project. Theater rules, right? Projection. I'm excited for folks who haven't had a chance to encounter. It's an amazing book and truly generational. So I'm honored to be a part of this event. I'll just read one poem. It's from my book, True Account of Talking to the Seven in Sunnyside. This poem's called Last Life. Last life. Locate my heart somewhere between Daikanyama and Rego Park, built on the side of the road, placed 4 feet into the ground and surrounded by dirt, stretched across approximately 85 feet of grass, situated above the gorge of Samaria on the lakefront, nestled on the hillside, overlooking beautiful Holland Lake in the Lebanon hills. My heart is a manger in Bethlehem. My heart is a golden dome in Marrakesh. My heart is in its 15th year of providing service as a help and emergency rescue unit, always overrun with GPS. My heart is a non-profit animal rescue organization, staffed mainly by volunteers. My heart is proud of its diverse workplace. My heart is up and running. My heart is always in short supply of the following items: tamago sushi, jackets from Zara, and your unrivaled affection. My heart is non sequitur. My heart is a lion. My heart is a pianola Pietro Crespi tunes in the village of Macondo. My heart is a large outdoor cooking grill. My heart is a domestic violin. My heart is a ripe, ripe mango. My heart is actually many hearts in one, which makes it so hard to choke. My heart is a top 10 pop song by Happy End. My heart is the body's elevator that leads you directly to the brain's anterior cingulated cortex. My heart is a member of the Royal Union. My heart is heavy with the thought of it. My heart is the place to start when things fall apart. My heart is improving. My heart opens between sleep and dream. My heart swims on the upstream side of the dam. My heart is holding her own with all the free weights at the gym. My heart is struggling to express herself over the din of glorious torch songs and buses. My heart is not someone the press has warmed to during her erratic career. My heart is too young to have experienced much of the 1970s that she's representing. My heart is determined to show adolescence at its worst in her aesthetically conventional but refreshingly light and entertaining look at the teenage years. My heart is a decent actress. My heart is an avowed fan of Haruki Murakami's novels. My heart is hopelessly amateurish. My heart is as bad as has been said hundreds of times before by the press. My heart is not an actress. My heart is not father nor spouse. My heart is a babe with big blue socks. My heart is a filmmaker with a light touch. My heart is actually doing quite all right these days without the cameras in her face. My heart is drenched in wine to stain these sheets forever. My heart is saying now, quote, "Baby, you don't know how you live in my dreams," end quote. My heart is an open book, so, quote, "Don't believe all those lies, darling," end quote. My heart is nearby, but still your hair stands on end, knowing full well that my heart will never ask you to take off your shoes. Baby, tonight my heart opens its cab doors for you.
Thank you so much, Paolo. That was amazing. Next up, we have writer and friend, Emily Simon. Emily is a writer in New York City. Her first book, In Many Ways, was published by Winter Editions in 2023. She is also the author of the poetry chapbook, Rain is Over, by Choo Press.
Yay! I'm jealous of your It's not on. Yeah. Hello. Hello. Okay. So this is really exciting. I'm really happy to be here and to celebrate Rye's chapbook and to read with these incredible poets. And I love Choo Press. It's really special. So I'm going to read from like a book I've been working on, and I think, you know, I don't know. I like how Rye talks and thinks about cringe. Maybe I think about it a little differently, but I think Rye's thinking has definitely informed mine. So I'm just going to read something a little cringy. I arrived at the doctor's office late and hungover. "How many drinks in one night, in 1 hour?" she asked. "Are you doing bizarre and risky things like chatting up the homeless? Do you follow strangers to bed? Do you stumble out confused? How do you get home?" The doctor assessed I was safe. She suggested I join a synagogue or volunteer at a dog shelter. She said something about romanticized self-destruction and asked if the husband deserved what I'd been doing to myself. This book is about husbands and doctors. I thought that was clever, but I wanted to do him worse. I thought about fancying myself a disaster, a low-down sinner, then pure like the driven snow. A shame, I thought, to be so uncreative in my self-regard. Another doctor, a new one, suggested I take a deep breath. "There are tissues," she said, as if the invitation might produce a flood of tears. "This is like trying to have an orgasm," I said. I wanted to make her laugh. "Why do you like talking so much?" she asked. "I think talking gives me a sense of control, mastery." She asked why I was laughing. "Because I feel smart when I talk." There's no question you're good at talking, she said. Talk therapy might be dangerous for you. You can do it. Stop being so borderline, the little pill doctor told me. What? Well, I only see you every so often. I have to be brief. I get to the point more quickly. You and your therapist have more time to discuss these things. Are you saying I have borderline personality? No, there are borderline features. We all have borderline features. I love you, I hate you, I love you, like that. So I'm not borderline. No. Why do I do that? The flip-flopping. I would tell you not to worry so much about that. Don't wonder why. The doctor's phone rang then, and she said it was important. Hello? Yes, thank you. Yes, the dining room. It's very bad. The bathroom is fine. The bedroom. Yes, I see. Well, they haven't been home, not for many months. It's very awkward. You think I should? Okay. Yes, because it's the dining area and holiday time, right? I can't have people over at my house. Exactly, thank you. Okay, soon. Thank you very much, bye-bye. I'm so sorry, my ceiling fell on me this morning. No, you're kidding. It really did. I was having my coffee in the dining room. I'm so sorry, that's a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, well, it could have been worse. The drywall did fall on top of me. But this is not about me. You. Back to you. How is your cat? Mom woke up in the middle of the night on spring vacation and listened to a podcast about the Sabbath. She explained the sacrality of rest to me over breakfast, to which I replied, yeah, rest is important, like negative space. Right, but rest isn't about productivity, she said. At the beach, Mom and I wore our towels like blankets, then threw them off and used them like pillows. Go with the flow, she said, like the weather. We traveled a long way to lie out, but still we couldn't help being productive. Mom asked the doctor's office if she would get an email to this effect. I composed a message saying July suits my schedule just fine. Construction cranes hauled sand around the beach and birds pecked the shoreline. The sun is a little minx. The sun and its sense of humor. I was freezing in the sun, then very, very hot. A little boy played in the sand with 2 plastic cups. Sweet boy, my mother said. He filled the cups with sand, then poured it all out and did it again. Soon he was dancing with the cups full of sand, a lively dance. He must have heard music playing. I wanted to follow the doctor's suggestion to sit with my feelings, but old times and hypotheticals kept barging in on the present. Possessing nothing new, neither desire nor feeling, I was out late every night and sleeping at odd hours. Is sitting with the feeling like putting on a suit or stepping into a lake, I wondered? I felt intensely jealous when a contestant on Love Island, I almost said a different show that I want, on Love Island bawled her makeup off. She sobbed in the snake wrangler's arms in her confessional interview, then packing her bags and exiting the villa. I couldn't imagine what thought or thoughtless thing might kick off such a release in my life, but I wanted it. I got a notion from a viral astrologer that my 7th house might clarify my love life, so I consulted her app. Healing, focus, connection, courage, it told me, deserved my best attention this year. I reflected on these, which did seem well selected. However, they were assigned to me. Then I wondered if anything might feel appropriate. Saturn was in Pisces in my 7th house, apparently, or I was suddenly too bored to read. I tapped to dig deeper and was prompted to pay for a subscription. I texted Mom and asked, who is that healer you said we should talk to? She answered, ooh, and that was all. New memories are coming, I thought. I prayed for new memories to come. One night, I convinced Pippa to watch QVC with me. You know this, the blonde host gestured towards a rack of fleecy loungewear. This is real life. The brunette nodded conspiratorially. I love real life, she said. The ladies exhaled, laughed, sighed, then in unison, I love real life. How long do you think they've been awake? I asked Pippa. So this is the chestnut. No, that's the silver mink. Silver mink. What's wrong with me, Kim? That's the silver mink. Here's the chestnut. They're on Adderall, right? Pippa said. Absolutely. Who is this for? Who watches this and buys this stuff? We do. I mean, okay, sorry, if this is confusing, these are 4 different people, so. So I say to Pippa, I mean, okay, which color? Silver mink? Yeah, I think so. These ladies are warriors. I love Kim. And just look at what happens when you pair the gold mock neck with the silver mink jacket. Are you kidding? That's why we did this. So you have the structure of the twill, that really crisp, clean, cool look, and then in the back you have movement, you have comfort, you have flexibility. And the leggings to go with. The leggings come in 3 different inseams. We've never done this before. And look, I'm pulling them. I've got tons of room in the leg. It's a no-brainer. You're going to the store, you're doing your shopping, you're comfortable, and you look fabulous. It's fall, I mean, it's the age of possibility, Kim. The silver mink, it's going fast. I think we only have 200 left before we sell out. The age of possibility, what is that, Pippa? Yeah, this month it's the age of possibility. That's good. They've also been promoting apocalypse products. That's depressing. Emergency generators, flashlights, stuff for hurricane season. They're like, you can make your coffee, charge your phone, and blow dry your hair at the same time. I'm gonna stop there, so thank you.
Always a pleasure to hear Emily talk about husbands, doctors, cringe, and anything in between. Our next reader is Mónica de la Torre. Monica's 7 poetry books include Pause the Document, just out from Night Boat Books, and also Repetition 19, The Happy End, All Welcome, A Riff on a Riff of Kafka's America, and the 2 collections in Spanish published in her native Mexico City.
Still not working? No. Okay. I just thought maybe after this we start working.
It has a green light.
Hi, everybody. It's so great to be here. I love Rye. Rye has infectious enthusiasm for everyone's poetry, and it's really great to be able to return that enthusiasm and help celebrate their book, their chapbook. I'm going to read a series of prose poems that are titled Dream Caravan Dream. An exemplary chair marrying wicker and iron. Modern spirited, it support clean, crisscrossing rods. The seat's materials extracted from and best suited for lounging anywhere in the vast region between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. As if designed for dream recollection, it was sold to me by Deja Vu and later placed for optimal vantage. I take my seat and gain a view of the wilderness. Wait, I just had an idea. It's so, yeah, I'm going to replace this because it's really weird. Sorry, guys. I just can't do it, you know. There we go. Okay. Did I turn it off? No.
Oh my.
I think I did. It's on? No.
There must be a switch on this side.
There's a switch. Jesus.
On the side.
This is my job, so
Okay.
you're totally. Alrighty,
There we
now
go.
it's on. Here you are.
Thank you. Okay. So there's this chair, right? So I take my seat and gain a view of the wilderness. It all comes back to me then. I teach at an art school that has relocated to Acapulco. I've arrived to run a couple of workshops on repetition. Faculty have transplanted their New England homes to this port city well past its golden era. Only the tents don't clash with the architecture. Under one of them, a group of students in prairie dresses talks ecstatically about Elle's divination workshop. How do coming events cast their shadows? Sunlight, grasses, breeze, skin-clinging heat in the form of humidity. Horse-drawn carriages go by. Where are the palm trees? We're not in Appalachia. One of the artists keeps calling out to me by the wrong names. Clara, Lucia, nearly synonymous with lucidity. I'm off to another dream. My void is called my sister, said the voice I did not have. Morning thoughts with the consistency of music. A sustained undoneness. Confession distorted as if in translation. Eons, ions, and other easily confused words. Reduplication or the erotics of indeterminateness, rendered as a series of folds. In a single sentence, such as, synapses are plastic. Me pierdo en el tiempo. A day's third devoted to shedding dead cells. Analysis, all memory. Other instances include the more a patch of grass is trampled, the clearer the path becomes. A memory of walking is being created. Also, wing-ding, flim-flam, back-to-back. When asked what transpired, she heard herself blurt out, "I'm not a revenant." Sitting at the edge of the bench with a partial view of the screen unless I make an effort to see the whole picture. When I do, someone complains that I'm blocking the view. Jay, sitting in the audience, starts mocking lawmakers who've just passed an outrageous bill in Congress. Expanded cinema. The film is also a book. A young, bedridden woman seeks her true identity. She finds it at the end, but the knowledge makes all that came before acquire a different meaning. We go back to the beginning. On a second read, we realize it's her twin who's discovered her identity. The sisters have been next to each other the whole time. One is clothed and the other one is naked. I turn to the audience and tell them that poetry is law. Explain yourself, someone demands. We owe our feelings, don't we? I ask. The audience begins to disperse. A tourist who's announced he's lodging at the Seasons Hotel watches me put my boots back on after I wipe my feet clean. The floor is full of dirt. The last scene is a close-up of feet. One twin is the right foot, the other one is left. A healing ritual is being performed on me at a fulfillment center. I'm lying on a massage table as the proprietor and her look-alike daughter slide their hands a few inches away from my aura, methodically, from head to toe. Waves of pleasure ripple through my entire body. When they stop, I start readying myself to leave, but the younger one stops me. Wait, we're not done yet. She takes my right breast in her hands and from my own flesh begins sculpting the head of the baby I never had. It has a glimmer in its eyes, puckers its lips as if grinning, and makes gurgling sounds that speak to me. It's warm and beautiful, and I show it to B, who's materialized in the room all of a sudden. I take us elsewhere as soon as I remember all those people waiting in line outside. 2 editions of a non-existent book. A probable book in which New York School poets discuss the composition of their works. I'm participating in the launch and have traveled with a group to a city reminiscent of Tokyo. We're trying to find the venue and enter the wrong building. The more we get lost, the less I remember what I'd planned to say. A asked me to go fetch her copy of the book, which she forgot at the hotel. I get even more lost but manage to locate it. Her copy includes a facsimile of her journals. I can't find the pages I'd earmarked in my own copy of the 2nd edition. I walk into the auditorium a half hour late, carrying a giant, filthy vat in each hand, which I proceed to hide between velvet curtains. The poets are seated at a picnic table on stage, and there's a Ouija board on the table. M is there. The other A is there too. She tells me to sit on the bench across from her. I would prefer not to. If I want to face the audience, I'd have to turn my back to the other panelists. Also there, D and G with her new boyfriend, though it's not G, it's B. I'm still sore that she lied to me. I'm trapped on stage. I'm relieved when the moderator begins querying us about our own creative processes. There are 2 planes, one exterior and one interior. The first requires that your antennas are out, that you allow yourself to be guided by whatever is happening outside. The interior one, on the other hand, is like a square by Joseph Albers inside another square that is the interior of an exterior interior. I lose my train of thought, but the moderator doesn't notice. Her fingers are gliding on the Ouija board. There's not too many of these, but there's enough that it might take a while. So I'm just going to read 2 more. I repeat the poem in Spanish a number of times so I can transcribe it upon waking. It's so simple I can't possibly forget it. Later, a search takes me to the sole extant recording of Alejandra Pizarnik's voice. She reads a poem by Arturo Carrera, whose title translates to Written with a Nictograph. El escriba ha desaparecido. The phrase future historian of feelings in another notebook. El poema se abre. Remembering sentiments. Esa es tu fuerza. Only a translator might be able to decode them according to the cathartic method. I'm given a book of hers wrapped in craft paper. No trace of the poem, just a password in gift form. Identical tear marks in the same spot of the sky on consecutive days. Rows of dolphins propel themselves in the sound. I am with a group of animated, highly sociable mammals. To go from one part of town to another, both equidistant from the shore, we must walk on the beach. No one but me sees them dipping in and out of the water, fins and arched backs glistening off in the distance. Mirrored processions, unlike speeds. Thank you.
Okay, now I'd like to welcome Timothy Donnelly, whose most recent book, Chariot, was published by Wave Books in 2023. He lives in Brooklyn with his family.
Thank you. Ryan, I'm so happy to be here. Are you back there? Yeah. How you doing? You okay back there?
Yeah. Seat in the house.
Okay, you got. I won't say what you're holding. I'll let you surprise everybody with it. It's a thrill to be here. It's fantastic hearing Paolo and Emily and Mónica read. Can't wait to hear you read, Rye. Congratulations. I've watched these poems grow up, I feel, and I'm so glad to see them on the same bus now. The chapbook that's the metaphor for it. I'm calling it a bus. And if there's one thing I know about Rye, that they love little clay tablets.
Yes.
Am I right? And so I took that into consideration when choosing the poem I'm going to read tonight, because I was in October at the James Merrill House in Stonington, Connecticut, and he had a lot of tchotchkes, and one that really caught my eye was a fragment of pottery that had this face on it. But you see a stylized face of indeterminate, well, just completely indeterminate. But I thought it looked like Virginia Woolf, right? So that became kind of like this is for you. That became kind of, that was the battery that fueled the poem, which I think of as being in like half-rhymed couplets. So if it gets boring, you can just fill the time by listening out for rhymes. Fragment of pottery decorated by a human face. I wrote this too in late October towards the end of the election cycle, and I tried to figure out a few things in this poem. Evidence says seagrasses evolved from red and green algae into ferns and great conifers before something like nostalgia, like algae and nostalgia is my idea of a rhyme. That's what you're listening out for. Evidence says seagrasses evolved from red and green algae into ferns and great conifers before something like nostalgia drew them back to the sea bottom via sugarcane, bamboos, and major grains like rices. Don't quote me here. This is loose, where looseness is at worst innocuous as a mushroom that only acts toxic, while at best it offers brief freedom from the quadrille of the strictly factual, letting language and ideal off the leash a little in the interest of play, which we know to be fundamental to the development of skill sets necessary for the biocultural success of the individual. Yet, elsewhere, in milieu where attendees expect accuracy if not exactitude, looseness greases the pole the osprey roosts on and pours a willful gravy over everything on the plate, masking hazmat and gristle. Too much of it one night after earfuls of shambolic bombast and associates born ready to warp daylight in their favor. I was the lone attendee of my sad after party, isolado of the walk-in wonder cabinet yards away, where a piece, and by piece I mean fragment, of pottery called to me, triangular, big as a slice of apple pie cut for a hungry uncle, but small as the rack in the tabletop pool table he'd give you for Christmas. Heavy in the way old stoneware always is, its insides coarse and speckled gray, dense, cold, the gentle curve of its part suggesting the whole had been a jug. Loath to bring pie back up, but an ornamental relief resembling pie crust must have run along the vessel's width, because a strip of it remains, damaged but incontestable, along the top of the inverted triangle, under which a rustic human face in black and green on the left, green and black on the right, looks out, eyes widened at the viewer, not to give, but to be received. Eyebrows angled like the accents in élève to check her students. She is prototype of Virginia Woolf in her fur-collared coat, cheek in hand as in the photograph used in U.S. ads for To the Lighthouse, whose Mrs. Ramsey feels herself hurled outward from the eddy of human activity and meaning-making in the middle of a dinner party, drifting off into the vague, echoic bourgeois sea inside her. It's a thing you have to fight privately, even if it almost always happens in the presence of others, although the meaning of presence has come to contradict itself, and the rhetorical choreography of power can drown you from a world away, like Prokofiev in a scherzo. And while what Mrs. Ramsey grieves is her role as conductor of the socio-affective lives of others and the toll it takes on her, mostly because her labor tends to go unnoticed, and although she'd never say this, the fruits of her own harvest don't belong to her. The queasy robotics these conditions induce and depend on, plus the chill of powerlessness felt in the face of their inoperability, given how enmeshed they are in basically everything, aren't too far from sweating it out in life's galley, while all my so-called shipmates fatten on the creme anglaise I can't even get myself to spit in. But if a potsherd can empathize, this one can. She has outlasted tyrant speeches, felt the bejesus they squeeze out from the organs of appetite that keep us running like a business. She has substance adequate to prop open doors for those who push past her and forget by the pop of their indifferent kava. She can give you notes on proceeding as a fraction of what you had once felt capable of being, and you can turn her over, the vegetal green of her face brightening on the flip side to the shade of it when low angular sunlight passes through nostalgic seagrass. I've seen a lot of it of late, floating fat on my back in the Atlantic all October, awaiting the sting of jellyfish and shark bites, eelily wigged out by the bounty of its weeds at first, then easing into it, sensing them want me there, a welcome to the ecosystem, their wavy blades along the length of me like lashes, and the pleasantly abrasive tongue of sand, a gangplank, into an ambiance that doesn't have to try, it just does. The ocean laughs at definition. It doesn't signify, hypothesize, hoodwink, or prevaricate. No stakeholder profits from my being in it yet. But like a house key in the thunderstorm of history, I feel it in the air tonight. Brute mechanic demands inflicted on many by a market economy necessitate reassurance that we're more than just numb functionary cogs or fungible appendages in the gross computational body of the ultra-rich. What this looks like can get ugly, so you have to figure out how to organize your ugly, lest Uncle stub his cigar out on your frontal cortex and do it for you. It can't be play when it drops like this, not when power powers its sick heaven on Jews cold pressed from modest paychecks. Make money while you sleep, they say, but mostly we lose sleep over money we can't make or keep long enough to feel any safer than a cartoon egg on a wall or primogenitor lost in the savannah diorama of living hand to mouth as herds of opulence or cottagecore reindeer phantasmagorically stamp their wattage-crazed images where Uncle's spent cigar has left a scar that looks for all the world like a red corpuscle, a plate of pancakes, a wildfire via camera drone, and fading bands of ice around old mopey Saturn, first observed in 1610, but from the end of a wooden telescope in Padua that summer, Galileo thought they looked less like rings than a pair of ears. There's no right or left ear indicated on what's left of you, what you were once anymore, but you're better off without. This news cycle, like an uproar aboard a sinking ship, the hull of it torn open by the 9/10 of resentment our captain forgot to provide for in the maths. Now the workforce lies underwater while the rich are safe indoors in waterfront resorts. I'm asked to, in the idiom of credit offers, I tear to pieces to spare myself the mistake of considering. I crawl the outskirts of comfort instead and smell everything on the menu. I admire the vain blue bubbles of favor the rich inhabit like a clatch of backslapping gerbils. I endeavor to aspire. I spark up an umpteenth novena with the intention of a clearer vision of my place in time, and in its inwit, heaven takes me back to the sea. Here I'll tell you a story I never told anyone. I walked too far along the shore one day as a child and found a beach covered in 1,000 tiny fiddler crabs. They held their one weird claw to the sky like they were mad as hell at being made. When a wave came in, they would all skitter backwards into 1,000 holes in the sand, 1 hole per crab. When the wave receded, they would then maneuver their bodies back out of their holes and into the bright salt air. Next, they ran, a few at first, now dozens, hundreds, down in the direction of the sea, defiant, proud, like a battalion into battle. But when a new wave followed, they would skitter back into their holes. This went on for as long as I remember, hole to shoreline, shoreline to hole, till I felt I could hear it, their movement, their seething made of time and its desperate little clicks, while the sea pushed on, its own sound a seething. And they said to be one or the other, but I wanted to be nothing. Woo.
I'm now thrilled to introduce Rye Cook, a Brooklyn-based poet performer who was recently awarded the Belladonna Non-Binary Poetics Residency. Their work has been published in the New Republic, Brooklyn Rail, Iterant, Spiral Editions, Archway Editions, No Deer, and others. Freak of Nature is their first chapbook. Their second,
Asu
Shunamir, is out this fall. Yay!
There's so many people here. Weirdest crossover episode in all of my lives. So thank you for reading that. Thank you all for reading that, and thank you, Timothy, especially for making. I came to Tim after I finished the MFA, and I thought all my work was cringe, and I was like, I hate this, I can't write anymore. And Tim kind of gave me a prompt to write about the cringe and align it into these syllables. And I thought back to Tim's class in, I believe it was the Sublime, where afterwards I asked where you got into the meter stuff, as I phrased it, and you mentioned Excursions by A Tribe Called Quest, and went to back in the days when I was a teenager. I love that pull that has this intrinsic bodily pull. So these poems are all kind of working with that pull of syllables, and I didn't figure out a way to really show it on stage. So we're still working that out, and two of these poems are not from me, so I'm going to be wearing this lovely Capitano Commedia dell'arte mask. Well, they are of me, but they're not like me. So we'll see. This first one.
You were possessed?
Yes, exactly. This first one's titled Burn Book. And at some point, cliches will all end up speaking over themselves, and the sand will commence its thrashing into skin along the shoreline. I am so worried about people finding my journal or my blogs and seeing how stupid I really am. My little bubblegum diary with a locket left on the right-hand side of the Uptown F. Ted Berrigan found and burned each of his theses in order to erase his less desirable parts. His cringe was contingent on tangible items, ink and paper. All the work I cringe at is in the cloud, wandering lonely around the air-conditioned warehouses in California where servers were like needy kitties. Here, kitty, kitty. This next one, I'm just gonna burrow through them because that's who I am. Rimbaud of Shit is this next one. That's it. I want as many people to be enamored with me as possible before I step into traffic. Happy Pride, I say to myself, next to the all-gender restroom in the Starbucks. I used to chug my pike roast before the stomach appointment, get the stool sample kit from the doctor, go into the closest bathroom, blast Riot Girl, and birth cringe from my fuzzy asshole like a true chronic punk. I would then scoop up the bits into vials, all had a top toxic sign on them, a face gagging, me the Rambo of shit. Oh my good, oh my beautiful collection of cringe, my potion, my poems. Every poet loves to talk about their body, at least until it stops working, and then they love to write about it. If I die of C. diff, at least pack these crappy fragments up like Verlaine did and mail them to every poopy literary mag that will have me. All right, this is my poem, this is not. All right, this is not a bot. This is a poster for the new Nick Cage movie Talking. Hello, are you feeling today? How are you doing so many things so poorly at once? Are you feeling overwhelmed and undershowered? Does your piercing much hurt look so fucking cringe? Hello, I can say fucking as many times as I want since I'm rated R. I'm not a bot because I know how to cringe like those cheap pronoun pins like a sunset Instagram story post or a poorly worded sentence or some shit-stained underwear found in the family hamper. Cringe like crying at a weeping willow as it cascades in the April air as if it's trying to tell you its saddest secret. You'd probably share that shit anyways because you're like that, aren't you? Hello, I wish this poem had a particular smell like Subway, eat fresh. I wish I could learn how to eat instead of forgetting till 3, scarfing down an order of fries, a Coke, and you. Do you think you can help? I'm too busy weaving all these bits of cringe till I get bored and abandon them on my beige IKEA table stacked up like past New Yorker editions. Eat up. Next one is where I take the mask off, and then we have 2 more poems, and then you're good.
Sounds metaphorical.
This is 11 o'clock number. Some pony brought a tambourine to the karaoke night tonight, and I can feel the jingle reverberate through my bed. Glory be to God for dappled cringe, the slam tournament of aesthetics. Last night, I watched my friend's brutalization simulcast on a massive movie screen while eating soft serve, and the body cam footage showed his bare feet, so I knew it was him, though I never exchanged names, or we did, but it faded. Organic seraphim, filling me up with joy through music. A poet says to me from beyond the grave, if something doesn't work in a poem, do it more. And so I'm touching myself again, karaoke night, this time in perfect rhythm with Rollin' by Limp Bizkit. As the chorus reverberates my thin wooden floorboards, I fall in love with every pony, forgetting if love on top has one more verse. Honey, I fall on the thorns of life, and I bleed hyperpop and thrash metal murder ballads through the microphone of my mind. Yes, I am a creep. I'm a weirdo. I perfectly project myself into what others tell me I am, like how my boss says I came alive when he saw me act in this reading on stage where every pony gave themselves up for the sake of text. The heat transfers from mouth to ear, and it's either accept cringe or stay in bed, covered in layers of self. When there's too much slant to your truth, you go rollin', rollin', rollin' in your limits. Like the current girl trying to hit those fickle high notes before pausing mid-teenage dirtbag chorus to say, if I'm a failure, let it at least be on my own terms. And then pulling out her harmonica from the upper left-hand jean jacket pocket to push the melody forward through blown breath as far as she can tonight. Now the tambourine man is going wild, and they both find this language together, wild, funneling their vision through bodies and rhythm. I feel the song of me rising from my bed, with no mockery or arguments, or any thought of the kind, just waiting here, listening, taking everything in before going downstairs, knowing exactly what to say. I have a bunch of bosses, so this next one isn't about any boss in particular. Millet and blackberries. On Monday, a Dogecoin tells me to kill myself, and I think about it. On Tuesday, I get whisper yelled at by my boss who says I abandoned my post and I got up to pee. On Wednesday, a literary agent mixer convinces me to shave so I can pass as my perfect genderqueer icon. My stepdad calls when I'm in line to talk to the gayest one, looking there, and I text saying, work's busy and I'll call after. In my younger years, he would ask if I was doing homework, and I'd always lie because his acrylic eyes couldn't check my screen to make sure. On Thursday, I go upstate on the highway, and our smart car warns us to brake, and we laugh at its sensitivity of the camera a minute before the minivan in front of us abruptly brakes for the deer she saw crossing the intersection, and as two cars hit us from back and front, all I can think about is, wow, I'm going to die so miserable. LMAO. I cringe upon impact with the ditch that separates incoming and outgoing traffic. The vegan olive oil cake is untouched, but the rest of the car is totaled, including my Barbra Streisand Just for the Record box set. The door on my side is crushed shut, and I dive to the other side and roll into the grass before making sure everyone is safe and sound. Somehow we are alive, a little bruised and limping, 30 seconds of silence before our phones harmonize Amber Alert wail. Apple says, it looks like you've been in a car crash. iPhone will trigger an emergency SOS if you do not respond. I swipe, and the dispatcher tells me to check on the other two cars, which are scattered along the highway. The mother who stopped short for the deer says she can't move her car because it will not start. The little boy in the back seat looks like YouTube-era Justin Bieber. He's fine. She's fine. The car that hit us from behind was flung forward. The driver can't stop crying. A man pulls over, flashes his badge, and says he's a detective. I had no reason not to believe him, and still don't. He takes a fluorescent orange vest out of his trunk and starts to direct the swarm. I check in again and ask if everyone needs anything. I apologize on behalf of the moment/deer still stiffening when the EMS arrives with the highway patrol. A tow truck guy asks, you want to keep it and eat it? I think about it. On Friday, I'm in love with the pics we took in the ER as well as the ones for insurance, the delicacy of a rose hood. I posted them on my story captioning NBD, me IRL, so this happened. On Saturday, a friend said I'm the worst person for this to happen to since I will make it my whole personality. I cry in bed after rubbing Tiger Balm across my chest and shoulders as I think about how the insurance photos we took before leaving the scene will saponify the crash into data, which will help teach AI to act more method. Know this before you drive. Get ready with me. You'll never guess which power color I'm wearing for the getaway. On Sunday, I receive a call from our case manager, Anthony, who says this is a no-fault state. I laugh at how easily fault can be crushed in our palms and spread around our cheeks, under our eyes, along our T-zone so we can look ageless and provocative. A poem or a shock site. Blue light hypoxia. There is a digital sublime, but we suffocated it. Here's my day in the life as a sad gay bog woman. Two more. And then I guess we'll do brief Q&As and then get out of here. So this one is 3 voices. This is probably the first poem that I wrote, even though it is towards the end. And it's weird how that happens.
And you're going to sign for us too, right?
Yeah, I'll sign. Yeah, I guess. 3 voices. 3 voices in the U-Haul at the intersection shout that they like my hair, which is the color of the loudest possible flower. I wave my thanks and continued on Marcus Garvey 1 blocks, blossoms weighing branches down to eye level. I leave Xana by Vernon to get a piercing, a septum, or a stud. M said flip a coin. I feel like I'm giving up all of my time to these lovers in order to avoid being alone with my thoughts. That sort of solitude weighs me down like blossoms all over skin. Blossoms thighs heavily from the fixing everything. A boomer student wants to write from the POV of a blind person to give them a voice for expressing love. I think of my stepdad who lost both his eyes 10 years and his speech tempo in 2019 brain surgery, telling me sometimes he wished he died under the knife 4 years ago. I am only so much of myself. I keep writing fragments, sending them out, asking, is this anything? I know he'll probably pass in the next 10 years. I don't know what to do with that information. Probably write a book, sell it, have people pity me with capital. Boo-hoo, 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 goes the lament of the loudest possible flower. This last one is the last poem in the book. And it's from when we had the fires that are now a summerly thing. But the first time the fires were here, or the smoke from the fires in Canada. June 6th, walking home. Night holds me down by the throat, blowing Canada's sweet Capnogenian smoke circles in my mouth as I drag my faggy legs to the alligator lounge for a free personal pizza with every drink. This city is a wood crust today, black and burnt cringe in the air, meaning while I'm so hungry, I could eat a proverbial horse. But all the real horses have collapsed, poor things, due to the AQI and the exhaustion of having to trot through so many poems. People love horses and poems, but being tired isn't poetic, neither is pulling a double with hopes of full-time insurance. Trust funds are also not poetic, neither is Williamsburg, or dogs and strollers, or Dean Martin. Well, except when That's Amore plays in Moonstruck. I remind myself I'm a wolf and howl at Cher's Tomato Moon. I love that movie, this smoggy air, my free pizza, my spruce-filled throat. I love so much it stings. Thank you. I'll take that one. Perfect.
I just want to say that listening to you read these poems, it really strikes me how singular of a person you are. And I mean that in the highest compliment. And the thing that struck me the most when I read this manuscript and why I agreed to sign on and edit and publish this was that you have this like delicious way of making the dumbest things, like going to Starbucks or walking down the street or getting scammed, like feel somehow magical and joyous and ambivalent and weird and, well, cringe.
Yeah.
And I'm just really, really glad that I got to hear it out loud, because that's the first time I've gotten to hear it out loud too. So if you guys have any questions or ideas or comments or thoughts about this celebration of cringe, we're now going to open this up for a really brief Q&A. And yeah, I'd love to hear what you guys are thinking.
Like 10 minutes.
Yeah, keep it snappy.
Great reading, Rye. Amazing reading, actually. It just actually occurred to me tonight. Thank you for sharing the experience meeting with Professor Donnelly, right, Tim, about where you might take your writing. But I'm thinking, as someone from the Philippines, Filipinx, we have varying degrees of cringe. We start with hiya, which is shame, which is its own value system. That's also sort of positive and can be negative. And then we break it down to what we call kabalustagan. But it's actually something that, as Filipinos, Filipinx, we love to showcase and mine and probe, and it gets us through the day. And what occurs to me today was how the poetics of cringe, right, as a empowering, like a verb that is empowering, and as a direction to your writing, it just became very manifest in your reading tonight. I'm wondering if you could talk about, now that your book is out in the world, if you're thinking about cringe alongside lunch poems, or notes on camp.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing. Yeah, definitely O'Hara and notes on camp. Sontag is in one of the. I believe it's Gerard Manley Hopkins, Susan Sontag, and then Fluttershy from My Little Pony as the three.
You also mentioned Wordsworth. You got Wordsworth.
And I have some Wordsworth in there as well. But there's. I love that you brought up this like pathway through, or the multiplicity of cringe, because I noticed that it's almost existing, at least within the Western culture, as like this, like it's like a temporality. Like cringe has an age, and it starts off very physical, like a physical manifestation, and then I think it turns into something that, at least in the mid 2000s, turned into like a weapon. That there was these cringe compilations that were of usually queer or trans people or people on the spectrum having meltdowns that were used to kind of laugh at by the alt-right, and then it goes back to usually the meme of cringe goes into the self, so it turns into this like self-policing that I think when we have enough data or parts or history, it can be like suffocating. And I wanted to kind of work within that sphere and get past it. I joke that this is like my last attempt at pathos. From now on, it's all logos and arrows. We'll see. No, but like I think that there is something weird and interesting about the lyric in relationship to cringe, because many people find poetry cringe, and I did, and I still find some parts of it cringe, and I also don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. I think that that's a very healthy thing. Yeah.
Not bad.
Good evening, dear Rad.
Hi.
So you were the first person to even teach me about this concept as something to engage with aesthetically, because when you said like, oh, I'm writing a chapbook about cringe, and it was to me over Guinness on St. Paddy's Day at a bar, I was like, I have no clue what you're talking about. When you start talking to me about Achaemenid Empire sex workers, I know exactly what you're talking about. So with that knowledge, I guess thank you for bringing this into my aesthetic lexicon, but also, over the course of editing this book, or working on or putting together, how has your, let's put it, theoretical perspective on this concept you're working through changed, right? Because you were like, at the time, you were like, gee, I really don't know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going somewhere. So how has your thinking changed?
That's a good question.
You can be as cringy as you want.
Thank you. No,
Please.
I think it's changed in that I kind of had to like let go of the intellectual person in my mind that's trying to turn it into like a Cien Nagai book about like the aesthetics of cute, zany, interesting, which I read, and then I was like, this is the best book I've ever read, and then I was like, that journey of being like, I want to make that, and I think it became, I approached cringe with a very theoretical framework, and then realized that that's not going to help me. There's this limit that only can be through body, and I think that when I was like letting go and just kind of taking in My Little Pony or these other parts of me that I feel some shame about, I talk about this. My friend Holly Melgard was talking with me about shame. I have a lot of shame. I don't know, but I don't know how to write about it. And I was talking with her, and she was saying that she like wants me to write about it so I can put it in something, in like a container, and then it doesn't become as abject or as abstract. And I did, that was my goal. So I think it was like a lot about letting go, which is a lame answer, but yeah, that was kind of it.
Mashallah. Thank you.
I'm like being mindful of the time because I also work and know we have time. We don't, but we are, yeah.
Is there time for me?
There's time for you,
Okay.
yeah. There's time
Thank
for
you so much. I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about what the visual, like the language and the visual coming together process looked like.
Ooh.
I know we're gonna have a chance to see them up close after
Yes.
this, but what was it like working with designers to bring such a clear vision to life, both on the page, well, I mean on the page both ways, but visually and in terms of text?
It's been amazing to work with Emily and Taylor. I think it was kind of, they've said yes and to so many things where I just like text them in the group chat at like 2 a.m. with like the aesthetics of this one hyperpop album, and I'm like, this is it. This is what it needs to look like. And then 2 hours later, I'm like, this is it. This is what it needs to look like. And I think that I want to talk with Emily about and hear like what she has to say, because I think it felt like this. For example, this cover was actually an error originally. It was an error. We were trying to do something else, and I loved the error so much. I thought it was amazing. I thought it, and I think that was that's been kind of like a really fun moment for me to talk about. Is like that these little errors or these bits of like naturally occurring things that are messing up within small press publishing in general can actually become the like very reason that this book exists. So I think it was really interesting to work, because I've always been thinking about it visually, but not the colors or the covers. It's always been in this sort of spine thing, which is I just wanted to make it in that sort of spine group. I don't know, it felt the most natural. But when I did get to work with Emily, I was thinking a lot about like Sophie and Gut Flora, and I sent like the stool sample vial, and like not mine, but like I sent pictures of those to Emily and Taylor, and I was like, this is the mood board. So yeah, that's kind of, I really thank both of them for taking that in stride.
Yeah, it was really fun, like working with Ryan. We got such a cool mix of references, and trying to kind of synthesize that into something that we thought fit like the tone of the poetry was a challenge but a fun one. And when the mistake happened, like Ryan sent us this image of like an anime, like
it was Akira.
Okay.
It was like Akira when the main lad is kind of overflowing from flesh and digital virus. It's like, yes, that was, yeah.
So the mistake felt like it fit. It was like, oh, it's broken. Like, this is it. It's great. And I think we're all happy with how it came out. So
Yeah, one thing I was really proud of, and I'm really glad, when we first started talking, we talked a lot about bodily fluids and how that's a major theme in the book.
Yeah.
Not just stool samples, but also urine.
Yeah.
And so we express ordered this light yellow paper to kind of match that. And so this is one of the nice things about working with your best friend who's a visual person, is that you can talk about the themes of the books, and it really does inform every little detail, even if it's not something super explicit. So
thank you. Yes, I remember. I forgot about Piss Christ. I also put Piss Christ on the mood board. That was like one of the other things. And I do.
Adult sanitary.
Yeah, sanitary in general.
Part of the mood board also.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Kind of explains, I think, some of the there's you can't really see, but the title is 3D rendered in metal. I mean, you could speak more about this, but it's breaking off because it's cyborgian. And it's also messy, and we wanted it to feel like fluid of some unidentified nature. So when you see the cover, you can decide.
And the risograph is part of, I think that was why I wanted to go with y'all. I think I was just so like, Rizzo is made from soybean, like the ink is, and it kind of feels like a salad or a block of tofu. Like, I love that this thing that comes from vegetables is like also gives you so many gradients and bright colors, and I think that was like I was so excited when I got to work with you, because I was like, this is the coolest method for me. I love risograph stuff, so thank you.
I really brought together the color coordination.
Oh yeah.
We should all applaud that.
I think we have time for one more question and then we're good. Or we can also just not.
Okay, if there's no other questions, raise your hand if you decide last minute you want to ask one, but if there's not, Taylor and I will be up here if you want to come by and look closer at the chapbooks and or snag a copy. Okay, I do see a question, so we're going to do one last question and then come visit us up front.
And if we didn't get a chance to speak to you at the beginning, please come find us. We really would love a chance to connect with each and every one of you, and it's just so heartening to see all of you here in this beautiful celebration of Fringe.
And also thank you to Kate and Swati who let me, Kate is the coolest boss, and not the one that I mentioned in the poem. So I wanted to be specific that Kate is the coolest, and like I mentioned, I have this chapbook coming out, and there was no beat. It was just like, when are we doing it? Which was like very sweet. So.
Hi, Rai.
Hi.
I wanted to ask about the relationship between cringe and feminist and adornment
Yes.
in your work and in general.
Yes, I think as someone who I also game recognizes game, your one woman play was it felt so much like this adornment of cringe in many ways. Cecilia, you're so cool. And I think that there is this. I've been going through this journey within more feminine aesthetics that I think the body that I was kind of grew up with was not used to, and so much of it feels like putting lipstick on a pig. Like it's just this sort of like weird back and forth. So I think when I'm starting to wear makeup or dresses or things that I find that I shift around throughout the day if I want to or not, I think that the adornment, like I needed to be able to wear something that was a power color or a mask, I guess. And I think that there is something to be said about like cringe being the wrong type of clothing at the wrong time, or the like right type of clothing at the right time, like you're at an anime convention, but to someone else that's like totally not what they want to see. I think I thought a lot about furries when I was writing this as well, because I used to like very much cringe at furries, and now I find that they're in my like protest action group chat. Like we're like, oh, let's fucking I hate ice, and then like it's the furries that are like, yeah, let's go. So like I love the furries now, and I think that there is something to be said about I like about wearing that shit anyway, and I love that you can wear that and in any shape or form and still find ways to. People are still gonna shout at you, but I think that it goes above. It transcends the body. When I wear something that's a little bit more feminine, it transcends the limitations that I think I have naturally. So yeah, thank you. Thank you all so much for coming. Thanks, Mom. Hi.
Thanks, everybody. Also, there are drinks downstairs. Where's the photographer? Are we getting it? I was like, are you getting it?
No, I'm not the photographer.